Evening, old is gold wisdom family. You know, growing older doesn't announce itself. One moment you're helping your child settle into their first apartment, and the next you're narrowing your eyes at a menu, wondering when restaurants decided to shrink the text. And let's be real, aging isn't only about gray hair or stiff joints. It's an entirely new phase, a deep change in how life feels, and no one hands you a guidebook for it. But here's the positive side. Even though getting older comes with real challenges, speaking about them honestly, sharing experiences, struggles, and even humor makes everything feel lighter. So today, I want to walk you through what I see as the most difficult parts of aging. The things most people never warn you about. And more importantly, I want to show you why none of these have the power to defeat you. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's have a sincere conversation about what it truly means to grow older. First on the list is the reality that your body runs on a new operating system. It's as if the body you've used for decades suddenly installs an update you never requested. Familiar shortcuts disappear. Things don't respond the way they once did. Systems you relied on now glitch. One morning, you wake up and realize your body feels like a newer model, and you're left learning the controls without instructions. My grandfather used to joke that his knees celebrated every time he climbed the stairs, and he was the one dealing with the aftermath. Random aches appear like unwanted calls you thought you blocked. You bend down to tie your shoe, and your back sends a sharp warning saying there's a price to pay. Or you decide on a late-night snack, and suddenly it's 3 in the morning. Heartburn keeping you awake, regretting every bite. The real struggle isn't only physical, it's mental. You once recovered quickly from anything. Late nights, minor injuries, heavy meals. Now, recovery takes time. Even a good night's sleep seems to need a recovery of its own. It can feel unfair, almost like your body has turned against you. But here's the important shift. This new system forces awareness and intention. You learn which foods truly support you. You realize stretching isn't optional, it's essential. You begin to value small wins, like walking a few extra blocks without protest. And maybe the most unexpected lesson is this. You start talking to your own body, encouraging it like a stubborn companion. It may sound strange, but it's also a reminder that your body, despite its quirks, shows up for you every day. It may move slower now, but it carries more wisdom. Learning this system is simply another journey, and you're still in control. Next, there's the quiet realization that your circle of friends becomes smaller. It's one of those truths about aging that rarely gets discussed. When you're young, your social life feels full. There are birthday parties, sudden dinner plans, work gatherings, and constant connection. But as time passes, that once large circle slowly begins to narrow. Sometimes people move away, sometimes paths naturally separate. It's a truth we often push aside, yet it's a very real part of growing older. I once read an online post from a man who spoke about reaching his mid-60s and noticing how quiet his weekends had become. Not by choice, but because his group of friends had narrowed to only those who still had the energy to meet up. That realization can hit hard. Aging can feel like watching chairs slowly vanish from a table you've always shared. But there's another side to that reality. The people who remain at that table are the ones who truly count. The friendships that last aren't casual, after-work hangouts. They're the ones who show up at the hospital without needing an invitation. You begin to appreciate that level of steadfast loyalty more than a calendar packed with surface-level connections. This smaller circle also encourages new types of connection. Maybe you start calling a cousin more often, or you form a bond with a neighbor who always waves from his porch. I've heard countless stories of older adults who've built friendships online that feel just as close as family, proving that connection isn't limited by age or distance. And let's be honest, fewer friends can also mean fewer obligations. You no longer have to pretend a bad dish tastes good at a potluck, or force yourself to attend every gathering out of guilt. You get to focus your energy on the people who matter most, the ones who make you laugh until your sides ache. The circle may grow smaller, but in many ways, it becomes stronger and far more meaningful. Third, there's the feeling that the world starts moving faster without you. Have you ever felt like life is on fast forward while you're stuck on pause? Technology plays a huge role in this. One moment you're proud of learning email, and the next your grandkids are laughing because you don't know how to airdrop something. And what even is airdrop? When we were young, dropping something just meant you were clumsy. I once heard a man say he could repair a lawnmower blindfolded, yet nearly lost his patience trying to pay a utility bill online. The world keeps upgrading its devices, its language, and its culture at a pace that can feel overwhelming. Cash isn't enough anymore. Now you tap your phone. Movies aren't rented, they're streamed. And the word stream once meant something entirely different. It had fish in it, and it's not only technology. Social trends, music, even humor change so fast that you can start to feel like a visitor in your own lifetime. I once saw an online comment that said, "I don't mind being old, but I hate feeling outdated." That line can sting, can't it? You used to feel right at the center of everything. Now, half the time, you're on your phone trying to figure out what a new slang word means. But here's the hidden benefit. When the world races ahead, you don't have to chase it. You can step aside, let it rush past, and move at your own pace. There's a quiet comfort in choosing not to worry about the newest app or the latest viral trend. You trade that fear of missing out, or FOMO, for a real sense of joy in missing out, or JOMO. While everyone else is anxious about likes and followers, you're peacefully enjoying your tea, your book, or time in your garden. And honestly, that feels like a win. Next comes a difficult topic to face. You begin to feel yourself fading from society. For many people, the most painful part of aging isn't the physical aches or confusing technology. It's the quiet hurt of feeling invisible. You may walk into a store and notice younger people barely acknowledge you. You share an opinion in a group, and it's quickly dismissed. Even doctors sometimes speak around you instead of directly to you, as if you aren't fully present. That sense of being unseen can slowly creep in, and it truly hurts. A woman I once spoke to said, "I used to turn heads when I entered a room. Now I feel like part of the wall." It's a painful, yet powerful way to describe it. You start fading into the background. Society often places so much value on youth and productivity that once you're past your main working years, it's as if people forget you still carry stories, wisdom, and a full personality worth hearing. It's frustrating because you haven't vanished. You've simply changed. You hold decades of experience. Yet instead of seeking your insight, the world seems eager for you to step aside for the next generation. This can make you feel unnecessary, and that's a dangerous emotion. But this is where perspective can shift. Many people eventually discover that invisibility can become a quiet strength. When you're no longer the focus, you stop performing for others. You finally get to live exactly how you want, without worrying about outside opinions. No one is judging your clothes, your interests, or your decisions. They're too busy looking at their screens. You can wear bright socks with sandals, eat dessert first, or spend the afternoon singing to your dog. No one even notices. That kind of freedom is powerful. And remember this, even if strangers don't see you, the people who truly matter do. Your children, your grandchildren, your close friends. To them, you are unforgettable. You are their guide, their storyteller. The one who has lived enough life to offer wisdom no search engine could ever replace. Fifth, let's talk about how memories can feel both comforting and heavy. Memories have a strange way of appearing when you least expect them. You hear a song on the radio, and suddenly, you're 17 again, driving with the windows down, carefree. Or you smell freshly cut grass, and you're transported back to summer evenings when the kids were young, chasing fireflies in the yard. Those moments feel precious. They're the kind that make you smile until it hurts. But here's the part no one really warns you about. Memories also grow heavy because when you look back, you realize so much of what you remember is no longer here. The people you laughed with, the pets who rested at your feet, even the homes you once lived in, they now exist only in memory. And that's a deeply bittersweet feeling. I once heard a man say, and it stayed with me, that he never realized the last time he throwing a baseball with his father was going to be the final time. That's the kind of truth you only fully grasp as you grow older. It's not just the pain of loss, but the heavy awareness of time. You begin to see how fast it all moved by, and sometimes that realization hits hard emotionally. But here's the bright side. Those memories are also strong reminders of how full your life has been. They prove that you loved deeply, laughed often, and truly lived. And when you share them, whether you're telling your grandchildren about the first concert you attended, or laughing with an old friend about the foolish choices you made in your 20s, you keep that past alive. Memories may carry weight, but they also keep you connected to what matters most. They're like small bookmarks, reminding you that your life has been a story worth sharing. Sixth on the list is realizing that simple, daily tasks turn into major missions. You don't notice what you once took for granted until bending down to tie your shoe feels like a planned operation. I'm serious. There's a whole strategy involved. You stare at the laces like they're an opponent, telling yourself, "Alright, here we go. If I don't come back up, tell my family I love them." And don't even mention jar lids. After a certain age, they become your greatest rivals. I've seen people online joking about using tools, rubber gloves, or even calling a neighbor just to open a simple jar of pickles. It's humbling, because these were things you once did without thinking twice. Carrying all the groceries in one trip, climbing stairs, or even getting out of bed used to be background tasks in your day. Now each one comes with a small negotiation. But here's the humorous part. You start celebrating victories that younger people wouldn't even notice. You struggle with a tight jar lid for 5 minutes, finally get it open, and it feels like you just won an Olympic gold medal. Or you make it through the grocery store without forgetting why you came in, and suddenly you feel parade-worthy. Small things become big wins, and there's an unexpected joy in that. You also adjust. That's the real secret. You use helpful tools. You find smarter ways to get things done. You learn to pace yourself instead of pushing too hard. I knew a man who bought one of those grabber tools, the ones that look like a giant claw, to pick things up around his house. He called it his third arm and used it so much, he even named it. Yes, daily tasks become missions, but along the way, you gain patience, humor, and creativity. And honestly, that stubborn jar lid never really stood a chance. Next, you begin to notice that grief shows up more often. One of the hardest surprises of aging is realizing how much loss becomes part of daily life. When you're younger, grief appears once in a while, like a summer storm. But as you age, it arrives more regularly, like changing seasons. Friends, siblings, even former co-workers. You begin losing people you believed would always be there. Someone once said it perfectly. Adulthood is realizing you'll attend more funerals than weddings. That's a sobering reality. And it's not only people you grieve. You also mourn places. The neighborhood diner where you had your first date. The old street that no longer looks the same. Even the routines you once relied on for granted. Sometimes you're simply sitting there, minding your own business, and suddenly you're struck by a deep longing for a time in your life that's gone forever. That kind of grief can slip in quietly and settle heavy on your chest. But here's the beautiful truth about grief. It doesn't only burden your heart. It teaches you how valuable everything truly is. You stop taking people lightly. You hold hugs a little longer. You say I love you without hesitation. You laugh harder with friends because you understand these moments aren't endless. Loss sharpens your sense of gratitude. I once knew a man in his 80s who told me that every morning he made it a point to call at least one person he loved. because he knew a day would come when he couldn't, and he never wanted anyone to wonder if they mattered to him. That thought stayed with me. Grief makes life feel fragile, but it also makes it feel urgent, more alive. You begin living, not to escape loss, but to make every moment you have left truly count. Then comes the moment when the mirror starts to feel unfamiliar. Oh yes. You walk past it one morning, catch a glance and think, when did my father move into my bathroom? It's unsettling because, inside, you still feel 30. You are 30, until the mirror disagrees. The wrinkles, the sagging skin, the gray hair that seems to multiply overnight. It's as if the mirror has a cruel sense of humor. And don't even get me started on physical changes. One day you bend over and notice a stomach you swear wasn't there before. Or you put on your favorite shirt, and suddenly it doesn't fit the same, even though the scale hasn't changed. A woman once joked online that her body wasn't gaining weight, it was just rearranging the furniture, and that describes it perfectly. The hardest part is the inner mismatch. You're still the same person with the same spirit, the same memories, the same spark inside, but the outside doesn't always reflect it anymore. It can feel like you're looking at a stranger wearing your face. But this is where perspective changes. Over time, you stop seeing wrinkles as imperfections and start seeing them as evidence. Evidence that you've laughed, cried, struggled, and made it through. Every line tells a story written on your skin. The small scar on your forehead from the bike fall when you were 10. The lines around your eyes from nights spent laughing until you cried with friends. Even the gray hair carries meaning. It's your body's way of saying you've earned this. And honestly, there's a quiet freedom in letting go of the mirror. When you're young, you spend so much energy worrying about appearance, trying to impress, trying to look right. But as you age, you realize you don't need to prove anything. You wear what's comfortable, look at your reflection, and say, we made it this far. That's not giving up. That's pride. After all, mirrors only show part of the truth. They reveal the outside, but not the light in your eyes, the warmth in your voice, or the wisdom you carry. Those are the things people truly remember. Ninth, there's the realization that your sense of identity gets challenged. One of the trickiest parts of getting older is realizing that the version of yourself you've known for decades begins to change. For years, perhaps most of your life, you were defined by your work, your role in the family, or your physical abilities. You were the teacher, the provider, the parent, the guy who could fix anything in the garage. Then retirement comes, or the kids move out, or your body tells you ladders are no longer your thing. And suddenly you stand in front of the mirror, asking, who am I now? It's like losing a name tag you've worn for years. You don't realize how tied your identity was to what you did until you stopped doing it. I once heard a man say that when he retired, he didn't just lose his paycheck. He lost his sense of purpose. That's a difficult truth to face. But here's the interesting part. That shakeup of identity is actually a profound opportunity to reinvent yourself. You've spent decades being who the world needed you to be. Now you get to be who you truly want to be. Some people pick up painting. Others volunteer. Some dive headfirst into hobbies they never had time for. I knew a man who discovered YouTube at 70 and began making cooking videos for fun. Before he knew it, he had thousands of subscribers cheering him on. Another woman turned her love of gardening into a neighborhood project teaching kids to grow vegetables. When old labels fall away, it's frightening at first, like being dropped into a world without a map. But it's also liberating. You're no longer boxed in. You can craft a new identity based on curiosity, joy, and whatever makes your soul feel lighter. And honestly, that version of yourself might just become your favorite yet. Finally, you realize that time is both short and precious. This one sneaks up on everyone. Time starts to feel like it's moving faster. I don't mean literally, of course, but it sure seems that way. Remember when summers as a child felt endless? Now entire years pass like a single season. You blink, And suddenly you're asking, how is it already September? Wasn't it just Christmas? That awareness of limited time is both the hardest and most freeing part of aging. It's hard because it means accepting that you have fewer tomorrows than yesterdays. That knowledge can make the clock tick louder in the background of your days. But here's the upside. It makes each moment feel brighter. Knowing time is short pushes you to focus on what matters. You stop postponing phone calls. You stop wasting energy on small grudges. You start saying yes to little adventures, spontaneous road trips, trying a new restaurant, dancing in the kitchen because your favorite song came on. And you also begin saying no more often to things that drain you, to people who don't value you, to obligations that don't nourish your spirit. One man I knew said that when you're young, you think of time like a bank account with unlimited funds. But as you age, you realize it's more like a wallet. You see how much is left, and you choose carefully what you spend it on. That's exactly it. Aging teaches you to be much wiser with your time, and oddly, that can feel incredibly freeing, because instead of trying to do everything, you focus on what truly matters. Whether it's family dinners, quiet mornings with a cup of tea, or chasing a dream that has no bucket, you savor it fully. The fact that time is limited is what makes it so valuable. It's like gold. You don't waste it on meaningless things. You hold it close and invest it where it counts most. So yes, growing older comes with the hard truth that time isn't endless. But maybe that's the greatest gift of all, the reminder to live with purpose, honesty, and gratitude instead of waiting for someday. Aging isn't all sunshine and calm seas. There are aches, losses, changes, and plenty of moments that take you by surprise. But you know what? It also cuts away the unnecessary. It pushes you to live more genuinely, laugh at the small things, and hold tight to the people who mean the most. From my view, aging isn't about what you lose. It's about what you gain, a fresh perspective, a clearer sense of what deserves your time, and hopefully many more moments that make you smile, even if your knees crack every time you stand up. If this resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share it with someone who may need to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe so we can keep having these heart-to-heart conversations. None of us are facing this alone, and the more we talk about it, the easier it becomes. Until next time, take care of yourself, and don't forget to celebrate the small victories, like finally opening that stubborn pickle jar. Take care, old is gold wisdom family.